Hi everyone, it's Paul from This Design That. Today we're going to be reviewing the Flashforge 5M Pro. Flashforge did send me this in exchange for a review, so please bear that in mind. Let's go over the main specs of this printer. It has got a 220mm cubed build volume. It has what I would call true quick swap nozzles. The heated bed can go up to 110 centigrade. The hot end will go up to 280 centigrade. And it has a listed flow rate of 32mm cube per second. It has a 600mm velocity and up to 20,000 millimeters per second accelerations. The frame is made of steel and the outer casing is plastic. It also comes with two doors, one on the front and one at the top here, and there are integrated handles built into the doors, and also this front door does have two magnets on it. It uses 4 rails spread across a 3-point leveling system for the Z-axis. You also get auto leveling, and it has sensors in the bed, and it picks up when the hot end actually taps against the bed, and you get an auto Z offset with this. It also has vibration resonance compensation built into the hot end as well. So you can make use of the input shaping built into clipper. For cooling, you have built into the hot end, but you also have, I think it's a 120mm auxiliary chamber fan as well. And this will essentially just blow air across the layer that is being printed at the moment, because obviously the hot end is at a set point. So that means that that auxiliary fan just needs to be in a set point as well. So then it is cooling when it is laying down that layer. The bed also comes with a two-sided PEI sheet, and it's got a nice handle for you to lift it up and down, and it's also got two locating nooks at the back here, so you can always easily place it in the correct position and then lock it down on the magnet. The 5M Pro version does come with inbuilt webcam, and it's decent quality. You know, you can easily see the whole build plate, and you can see if your prints are fouled or if they're working fine. It has inbuilt Wi-Fi, so you can upload your G code from Orca and you can set it to print from Orca, or you can also connect it through LAN if you don't want to go through the Wi-Fi route, and also you can upload via the USB port here as well. So it gives you a lot of connectivity options, which is nice. Now, if you're one of those watching this without a 3D printer just yet, don't worry, because you can still get your designs and ideas printed by using the sponsor of this video, PCBWay. What's more is that you are not just limited to the typical materials that most hobby machines can handle. With PCBWay, you can 3D print in polycarbonate, PEEK, and even titanium. They also offer CNC manufacturing, sheet metal and turning, PCB etching, and so much more. Lastly, and this is just until the end of August, so you have to be quick, they are celebrating their 10-year anniversary where you can grab many coupons and prizes. So be sure to head over to PCBWay.com today. Let's just quickly go over the unboxing. It was very nice and easy to get set up, and I really did like the fact that this actual cardboard box, it has handles built into it, which just makes it a little bit easier carrying it up the stairs into my room. The machine itself is very easy to get set up and running. It literally takes about 10-15 minutes. Take out the foam, plug it in, undo some screws which hold down the bed, and that's pretty much it. You just go through the steps in the touch screen up here, which will just take you through that initial, I think it's the PID tuning, the resonance calibration, and also the leveling for the bed. Once you've done that, it will print a test cube, and this was for me within 0.1 of a millimeter. I'm guessing it's meant to be a 20mm rectangle and 10mm in height. It was absolutely spot on in terms of the height of the rectangle. But the sides were 19.9-ish. So we're about 0.1 of a millimeter within the measurement here, which I think is plenty enough for 3D printing. And that's usually the type of ranges that I'm getting in terms of accuracy from my other 3D printers. The auto leveling works really nicely. This is the first printer that I've had with auto leveling. And yeah, it has definitely cleared up any sort of first layer issues that you might have. My bed adhesion on this has been very, very good. I've seen some people have some bed adhesion issues with this PIE sheet, but I've not had any. First layer is absolutely perfect every single time. Really nice, consistent first layer, so no complaints there. And if you are having any issues with the first layer adhesion, Flashforge, they do give you a glue stick with the accessory pack. I would recommend getting hold of a tub of 3D lac adhesive. That has been a game changer on my Voron, which has had first layer issues, especially before I did the Kirigami bed upgrade for that. That is amazing because a bottle will last you years. You just spray it onto the PIE sheet, let it dry, and it will last for a good amount of prints as well. It's not you have to reapply it every single time. I don't really like to use a glue stick because it does build up and get all gunky after a while, and then you have to clean it. There is no build up with the 3D lac, so yeah, definitely take a look at 3D lac or other products like that. Let's get into the pros of this printer. First of all is the quick swap nozzles. These are truly quick swap. It takes literally just a few seconds to swap a nozzle. All you need to do is take off the fan shroud, which is just held in place with magnets and locator pins. It's very, very easy to take on and off. Pull out the Bowden tube, snip the filament as close to the heat break as you can, and then you just pinch the locking levers and you can pull out the nozzle. They're able to do this quick swap purely because they've kind of incorporated everything into this one package. So the heater cartridge, the nozzle, the heat break is all contained in this basically individual nozzle. Flashforge do give you two nozzles when you buy this. You get a 0.4 and a 0.6mm nozzle. Now they have gone with, it looks like just like an injection molded, I guess this is a higher temperature plastic to house the heater cartridge and the nozzle. There isn't really any way to get into that. So if there is any sort of clog, you've got to replace the whole entire thing. But I guess that is certainly going to make the replacement of nozzles much more expensive compared to like what I have to do on my Voron. If I got a clog or I want to swap out a nozzle, it is just that tiny little nozzle that I need to change, and kind of the rest of the hot end stays in place. I really do like this idea. I really do like the design of it, but I'm not really a fan of the fact that I have to chuck this whole entire thing away if just one part of it breaks, which is a little bit annoying from waste perspective. Another huge thing for me for the 5M Pro as a positive is the air filtering. Now, as I'm getting more and more machines in this studio and I'm doing more and more, I guess, kind of micro manufacturing, which is CNC, laser and 3D printing, I'm becoming very much aware of the quality of the air when I'm in this room and all of these machines are running. I obviously started off with the i3 Mega, which is just an open frame machine, which is not very good. I moved on to the Voron Zero, which is a kind of semi-enclosed machine, and this one is fully enclosed, and it also has inbuilt two-stage HEPA filters, and it actually handles the air cleaning in two modes. So the first mode is the internal ventilated and cleaned option. So basically the air will just cycle through the HEPA filters and it will just maintain the air in this actual chamber. It will not vent it outside. So basically that will allow the chamber to reach a higher temperature, which is beneficial when you're printing things like ABS, for instance. The other mode is it will suck in air externally and it will vent it out, but it will still go through the HEPA filter. And obviously cycling the air in and out of the chamber is going to drop the temperature of the chamber, which is probably what you'd use for more common materials. But no matter what mode you use, the air is going through a two-stage HEPA filter, which is really nice. So now the HEPA filters are pretty small. You can see that you've got two here. The honeycomb structure, it doesn't really hold too much in terms of the activated charcoal. So I'm not expecting this to last forever. I'm pretty sure someone's going to come up with a mod to make a reusable filter, because I'm using something like the Nevermore on my Voron, which allows you to replace the activated charcoal when you start to smell the fumes again. But regardless, it's a very nice feature, and yeah, it's good to see companies taking notice of the health aspects of these hobbies, because if you're like me, I plan to be doing this for the rest of my life. I don't really want it impacting my health. So it's a great feature. What's more, with the air quality, this door is magnetized to keep it nice and shut, and it does have foam strips on all four sides, so it does actually create a really nice seal. The top does not have magnets, it just relies on gravity to keep it shut, but again, it does have foam sealing around all four sides. So it does a very good job of keeping in the fumes and also the sound. You can see just a quick sound test here, the difference when I've got the door open and closed. It doesn't look like it's much, but it really does take off that, I guess, those higher pitch frequencies that you hear when it's printing, and it really does dampen the sound quite nicely. And if you're wondering how the Flashforge actually handles the internal and external venting of the air, let's take a look at the back of the machine, because it's got quite an interesting little contraption. This is obviously the main controller board. I'm not going to pretend I know pretty much anything on this board. It looks like we've got the motor drivers here, and we've got everything nicely labelled. Got a fan down here. I'm guessing this is probably one of the HEPA filters. I'm not sure where the other fan is, but you can see that this is the kind of like the air filter chute. The motors are quite interesting because it looks like this injection molded part, the bolts that go into it have kind of got these like, I don't know, like teeth washers, and they've actually kind of bitten into this plastic molding. Now I know that on my Voron over time, these bands, they do need to be retightened, and usually you do that by adjusting the motor position, and you can see that these actually do have space in this injection molding part to slide left and right. And interestingly enough, the back panel does actually have cutouts for that. So it looks like you can adjust it. But the way that these bolts have been placed into this injection molded part, I mean, it's kind of destroyed it. I'm not sure how exactly you will be able to adjust that. This is definitely something that is going to need to be tightened over time. I know this is a very basic thing, but it is nice to see that this power supply is actually grounded to the mains inlet here. Just recently I'm upgrading my CNC machine, which you can kind of see the enclosure at the back here. I opened it up and the power supply and pretty much none of the components were actually grounded. So it's nice to see that just basic electrical safety measures are in place. So if we take off this chute here, you can see it does actually have some cables going to it, and I can see that this is a little servo motor here. It looks like there is another fan in here. Now, worryingly, it looks like they've got a little blower fan here, and that is blowing air, and I'm guessing it is to cool these drivers. The problem is that the airflow is really restricted because it's kind of stuffed behind this chute here. Not too much of an issue because I'm in a pretty cool climate here in the UK, but yeah, it doesn't look like there's very good cooling for these drivers. I don't know how hot they're going to get, but yeah, it's kind of stuffed behind this chute here. If we take apart this chute, it should just kind of ping off. There we go. So we can kind of see what's going on here. This is the port that goes into the actual chamber, and this is a blower fan, so it's going to draw air in here, and it's going to push it out through this inlet port. And then it looks like this servo motor, you can see that it's got just a little latch on it here, and this is obviously going to control what way the air is going to come. So when we've got the latch up, you can see obviously that lines up with this port, so the air is going to be brought externally in through here, in through the chamber, and then it looks like this is the outlet port here. If I just put a light behind here, you can see that this is the right port. So when we've got it set to the internal mode, you can see that obviously this gate is going to be closed, stopping the external ventilation, and it's basically just going to be filtering around this top HEPA filter here through this port. And then when you set it to external, the air is going to be brought in through the chamber, and then I'm guessing this fan will turn on and it will be exhaust through that bottom HEPA filter here through this fan. So it's pretty cool. I've not seen this before in other 3D printer reviews from other 3D printers. I like the fact that quite a lot of effort has gone into thinking about the airflow and the quality of the air through this machine. The other thing is that this thing prints fast. It's not groundbreaking in terms of speeds, but it does a very good job, and it's definitely a step up in speed from my i3 Mega, and it is comparable to my Voron Zero, which when you consider including the mods has probably cost me over £1,000. This is less than half that, and it is equally as fast, and it has more features to it. So yeah, it's quite interesting when you kind of compare it to what else is available out there. Now with the profiles that you get with the Orca slicer, I haven't really seen anything that's kind of pushing this to its limits. The maximum flow rate that I've seen for the things that I'm slicing in Orca is about 15 to 20. I think this could definitely be pushed faster, but I'm guessing that they are obviously dialing things back a little bit to just make sure you've got that consistency in terms of the quality of the print and the repeatability of it as well. Now I definitely think that this can print faster, especially when you consider that the nozzles, I don't think they're using any sort of CHT technology which will give you a boost in the flow rate. So this printer is definitely not pushing itself to the limits, and hopefully there will be some more profiles which will give you some faster speeds. Especially it'd be nice to have kind of like a prototype or a draft mode with the profiles. Let's go over some of the cons. I would say the biggest con that stood out to me straight away was the screen. It's terrible, in all honesty. It really does remind me of If you've ever worked in like an office, basically, you know, them old printers and they've got those terrible touchscreens, that's what it reminds me of. Especially when you get to pressing things around the edges, it is really temperamental. It doesn't always pick up your finger presses. And when you got to do things like enter Wi-Fi passwords, and mine is stupidly like 16 characters long, it is a real pain in the ass to enter characters into this screen. And it's a real shame because it is literally the first thing you interact with on this machine. And I don't know why, you know, at Flashforge, when they're making this printer and they're testing it, you know, this is not like a usability issue that's going to crop up maybe months down the line and maybe it wouldn't be picked up in testing. Like, you get an instant feedback of how crap this screen is just on first use when you just realize that your finger presses are not always registering. And I just don't know why they just didn't swap the screen out for something better. And I think the reason why this annoys people so much more in this day and age is that we've all got phones that have just super responsive touchscreens. Hopefully there will be a mod for this. You can replace the screen, so hopefully there will be an upgraded version that is better quality. To make this even more annoying, there are no controls to control the interface. You have to use the screen. There's no jog wheel or kind of like little dial pad or anything like that. That was the biggest thing that stood out to me as just like a poor user experience. Another con, and it depends how you look at this, is that, I mean, some things are not easily replaceable because this is kind of a closed source printer. So obviously the nozzle, I talked about that previously. If one thing breaks in it, you have to swap out the entire thing. And I think they're about 30 to 40 pounds. And especially if you compare that to the price of like not just nozzles, which are probably the thing that I changed the most on my 3D printers through the time that I've had them. Yeah, it can maybe add up. You obviously pay that premium price for the convenience of those really quick nozzle swaps, which once you've used them, you definitely will not want to go back to doing it, you know, with a kind of a wrench and a spanner and all of that. Other things is the extruder element that is in the hot end. The one thing that I have had to replace on my Voron is the plastic gear for the extruder, because the metal hob is meeting with a plastic gear, and obviously it's just going to eat it up over time. I'm pretty sure that is going to have to be replaced. You can't replace the gear, you have to replace the entire extruder assembly. And again, it's a little bit annoying. It's cheaper to just replace a gear, first of all, but also just from a waste perspective, you know, you're kind of chucking away all that plastic, which doesn't really need to be chucked away. I think there is a kind of like a filament sensor in this section here of the printer, and I can't see any way to access it. So if it does go, again, I don't know how you're going to repair that. The other con that I see at the moment is that it looks like a lot of these replaceable parts and consumables are actually out of stock on the Flashforge website. The user experience of that store is really not good because it does not give you any indication of when there is going to be a replenish of stock. I really don't like that because, I mean, let's pretend I just get this printer set up, my first 3D printer, and maybe I crash something, I break something, I need to replace a nozzle and it's out of stock. I'm screwed, basically. I've just got a very expensive paperweight. So they really do need to improve that. Just tell users when it is going to be back in stock. Just give an estimated date and that will just put people's mind at rest. I guess the biggest thing that you need to kind of be aware of, and this probably isn't an issue if you've not had an open source printer before, is that, you know, moving into a closed source proprietary style of 3D printer. Obviously, my previous experience has been with a Voron, which was a very good learning experience. I built it myself, and also I've done quite a few mods of it. So I really did learn the internals of how a 3D printer works. And yeah, it's made me confident enough that I'm pretty sure I can probably fix most mechanical issues with most 3D printers now. But there's definitely been times where I would have rather have had a closed source proprietary thing, especially when I'm just wanting the 3D printer to work for me and it needs some sort of modification to get working. It's broken, it's got some downtime. And it's not an easy fix, you know. When I started out with 3D printing, the 3D printer itself was kind of the hobby. I was just looking to learn about 3D printing and learn about CAD and those sort of things. But obviously, as I've kind of evolved into doing more things and the 3D printer has really become a tool for me, I don't really want the 3D printer itself to be a hobby anymore. I want it to kind of facilitate my other hobbies. And I think that's really the question you need to ask yourself. If you are looking to have this as a hobby, then this printer doesn't really give you much flexibility in being able to kind of modify things or tweak and change things. But this is my first experience with a closed source printer, and I must say that I really do like the experience because I am someone that just wants things to work and I don't want to have to kind of babysit the printer. This printer so far has been, upload and print, and I really don't have to worry about it. Changing nozzles and those type of things, I haven't had to worry about the bed leveling. It does it all itself. And the print quality is really, really good. I've kind of not talked about the print quality. It's fast, it's pretty user-friendly, apart from the touchscreen, but the print quality is very, very good, on par with what I'm getting from my Voron. Now, obviously with my Voron, with the modifications I've got to it, I can pump out much higher flow rates. Now I've got the Goliath on it. If I'm kind of looking for a quality print, I will probably be choosing this over my Voron. I think I would just keep the Voron for, I just want to get stuff out really, really quick. The profiles that come with Orca Slicer do a very good job, and they print really good results. I would maybe like to see some more slicer options that give you the option to maybe sacrifice some of the quality for a little bit of an increase in speed, because I really do think that this machine is capable of a lot more in terms of the print speeds. So I'm kind of amazed at what is available at this price point now. A few extra things that I would have liked to have seen on the 5M Pro is definitely some sort of nozzle wiping function. I have this issue on all of my 3D printers because I don't have any sort of brush or wipe. And it's whenever I'm kind of pausing a print, maybe I need to kind of make a little change or something like that, there is always a little bit of filament that is extruded while that hot end is paused. And then when you go and resume the print, it always gets caught into the print. So I'd definitely like to see some sort of nozzle wipe function. The other thing that I would really like to see is some sort of web interface. Now, I'm coming from the Voron and I use MainSail, and I really do like the fact that I can, even on my phone or when I'm on the computer downstairs, I can log into a web interface. I can obviously view the print, but I can obviously change all of the print settings on the go. So I can, literally look at the webcam. I can see if things are not printing too well. I don't have to run upstairs and maybe pause the print. I can literally make changes in MainSail while it is actually printing. I was kind of expecting something like that with the 5M Pro, but you don't get any sort of web interface. There is a Flashforge version of Orca, which does allow you to see kind of the progress, and it gives you a little bit of a web interface that you can see, but it doesn't give you any controls. Within Orca, you can obviously see the webcam, but the only things I can do is obviously I can slice the model and I can just set it to upload and print, and that's pretty much it. Now, to be fair, when I think back of why I wanted that web interface on my Voron, it is because I did have first layer issues, but I'm actually quite confident that I can literally hit upload and print with the 5M Pro, and because it's got that auto leveling, and because I haven't seen any sort of bed adhesion issues, because it is just perfectly level every single time, I'm actually probably more confident in not having to have some sort of web interface and actually view the print. I think overall for the price is a very, very good offering. I would definitely recommend this as a beginner 3D printer for anyone that is looking to get into the hobby. As long as you are aware that you are kind of buying into a brand and a system and you're going to pay for that convenience, you'll be fine. I don't really see any issues. Hopefully you've enjoyed this review. If you've got any questions on the printer, put them in the comments below. But that is it for today. I will catch you all later.